What's up, guys?
What's going on, Ben?
How we doing?
Phil?
How you doing?
Episode 3.
What's up?
Living the dream, man.
It's we go a month between these things, so it's always exciting when we do get together. It seems like we've been doing it a while. It's only episode 3, but it's like 2 weeks ago we met, and I've been excited to do it. So it's good to be back. I'm really excited about today's episode. We've made a lot of improvements. I'm gonna give a shout out to Ryan Baker quick. He's done a lot of great work with the production side of things, the audio. Phil, you want to show?
Oh yeah. We'll get.
That's for Ryan Baker.
That's for Ryan
Everyone,
Baker.
take a bow, Ryan.
Take it.
That's good stuff, man.
If you listened or watched episode 1, we recorded that with an Xbox 360 camera and some audio equipment from the early 40s.
Sonographs.
We sounded like the president talking to the troops that night. But it's fun because we've made a lot of improvements. We got a fun episode today. And then on our side, too, our preparation's been a lot better. If you could tell, we're not podcasters by paid trade.
No, but we're learning.
Sometimes plan A and B and C don't even work, and then you go to preparation H for that plan, and then, down the line.
We're going to be going to like 2A here pretty soon.
Preparation. Okay. It does feel better when we go to preparation H when we use that.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about. I didn't name the podcast.
Phil, our producers going, no. We're going to have to do so much editing today.
Phil, you named the podcast.
Yes.
And
we came up with that.
I just kind of figured out that why did you name it what you named it?
Why? Yeah. We were, so it's kind of when I think some of us were always talking about a podcast and how cool it'd be to start one. And one day I was talking to Hayden, to EMS director Hayden and stuff, and just kicking things around. And we were coming up with like ideas of how cool it'd be to, just talk about, calls or experiences or things that happen, at the station, to bring people kind of in the station, before they see things when, the emergency responses that you see when you see rigs and stuff like that, so that you, the show is called Before the Tones Drop because we're bringing people into the firehouse before the tones drop, before the alarms come in.
What does that mean though? Like the tones dropping?
Oh, so when the alarm comes in, right? So when we drop the tones, you hear the alert tones come in and stuff, and that's when all of a sudden you see the emergency. So that's like when you watch the TV shows, that's all the exciting stuff, right? You watch on TV shows, or you see even driving around Sioux City, you see our rigs going down the street, you see lights and sirens, you see that's after the tones drop, right? That's when you see what you think happens in a fire station and happens with firefighters. You don't get to see all the things that prepare us or get us to that point, all the intangible stuff and all the training that goes in, all the preparation. It's like for the show that we do here, right? And all the preparation we do to put together before the tones drop. And now we're bringing people in before the tones drop, right? So that's kind of a thing. That's where it came from. It was just kind of sounded cool, and that's what we kind of went with.
It definitely encompasses what the podcast is all about. I mean, achieving our goal of bringing the Firehouse kitchen table out to the public, out to other first responders. The name was awesome. As soon as you sent it off, we were like, yeah, that'll work, definitely.
And our first 2 episodes have been, that's us getting our feet too. I mean, we're figuring this out as we go. We have we have 2 exciting guests today. I've heard a rumor of who is that?
What is that?
Ho, ho, ho.
No way.
What
Yes.
did I hear?
You guys aren't going to believe
What?
that.
No. What?
Oh my gosh. Santa. Oh my God,
Santa Claus on the show? What is this? What?
Do you mind if I sit?
Please,
take
sit
a
down.
seat, Santa.
Wow.
This is, if you
Take
had
a
told
seat.
me this morning that I was going to be sitting next to Santa Claus later today, I would have
Well,
been
he's a
like,
busy guy.
You are just busiest guy. He's
This
got to
is
be
a
like the
fantastic
busiest guy.
setup.
Yeah,
We
pull
got
up a seat, put on the headphones, Santa. I mean, we're
Why
ready
not?
to go, man.
Yeah.
Time to take a break. I've been working really hard.
Yeah, you're busy this time of year. That's crazy. Thank you for working this into your schedule. I don't know who. I mean, I sent a letter to the North Pole this year, but I don't know how we got a hold of you. That's great.
I got the letter, and when I hear about good causes and good things people are doing, I want to come enjoy it.
Wow.
That's
Well,
Thank you,
awesome.
Santa.
What kind of
That's
good causes
fantastic.
are you talking about, Santa Claus?
Well, do you all know about Local 7?
Love it.
I do.
Yeah, love it, dude.
I'm a member of Local 7.
Yeah, we all
Local
are.
7 is a local chapter in the International Association of Firefighters. It represents your hard-working individuals. It fights for their wages and benefits and working conditions, but more importantly, the charitable things that Local 7 does. It is quite amazing all the things that you boys and girls have been involved in.
Well, thank you, Santa.
Well, thank you,
Appreciate
Santa.
those kind words.
Before you list them, where does the number 7 come from?
The number 7, lucky number 7. It was, from what I understand, was the 7th local who signed up with the International Association of Firefighters when it was created in 1918.
Wow.
That's like
so like
100 years or something.
That's a long
wow, that's a
time.
long time.
Your math is very good.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. That's why I'm on a truck, man.
So Sioux City. So our firefighters, we've been a part of the International Association of Firefighters. Since the beginning. Then.
Since the beginning.
Wow.
Wow. And how? I mean, are there a bunch? I mean, how many of those are there that signed up? I guess.
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I know there's over 300,000 firefighters represented by the International Association of Firefighters.
That's incredible.
Worldwide.
Wow, that's
and
tough.
do all of them do great charitable things like Local 7 does?
I believe so, but I think Local 7's one of the best.
Oh man, you don't have. You're
We're
just
happy to
saying
hear
that, aren't
Santa.
you? No.
What kind of things does Local 7 do around this time of year?
Around this time of year, it's a lot about giving back. Giving back the money that Local 7's raised throughout the year to charitable organizations such as the Food Bank, Noah's Hope, Gospel Mission, the Goodfellow Charities, and that little yellow dog that raises so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And other families in need. We do coat drives, toy drives. We purchase toys with our own money, let alone the money that we raise through our members and also our wonderful businesses here in town.
Awesome.
Wow.
Santa, do you have an amount total around this time of year that we have donated to these good causes?
On average, I hear it's right around $12,000.
$12,000.
Cool,
Wow.
Which is amazing.
So
Yeah.
you've done a lot of work with Local 7 over the years, spreading Christmas cheer and Christmas spirit. This isn't your first time working with Local 7, Santa.
No, it's not. No, I tend to show up around this time of year just to check in and make sure everybody's staying on the nice list.
Do you ever visit the stations?
I do. It's quite a surprise when I pop in and check up on them.
I remember my first year, I remember a Santa Claus running through the station dropping off gifts. It always stuck out with me. So
It amazes me
it's a
how
pleasure to
agile
be-
you are too.
It's a pleasure to be sitting with you.
I'm
Here
quite
today.
fast around this time of year.
It's just
It's a busy day. You got five days till the big one.
That's right.
Is the crew ready to go?
They are. The reindeer have been training to stop really quick on the rooftops. My little elves are busy making all the toys.
All the rig checks are good to go.
I think so. And those bright, shiny lights on those new engines are fantastic.
I was gonna say, Santa, you made your stop with Sioux City last week.
I did.
You was a bit early, and what did you bring us?
4 brand new Rosenbauer engines.
wow, man.
Thank
we
you,
thank
Santa.
you for that
Yeah.
too.
That was
They
on
do
our
look sharp.
list. That was on our
I'll
list.
admit it.
I might have delivered them, but I can't take credit for it. Credit must be given to our wonderful city council.
Yeah,
They
Yes.
really did go above and beyond.
yeah, they did.
Well, thank
They did
you
good job.
to Santa Claus, the people of Rosenbauer, and the city council, the chief, everyone that made this happen. We have a strong fleet right now, kind of our own little reindeer, if you will, Santa, and something to be proud of. And we're very excited. And we've already broke in the engines. It's been a busy December so far.
Fire
And-
season, Santa. You
Yeah.
know.
Sounds
So,
like this year's the busiest yet, and it keeps getting busier every year.
every year we go up in call volume, so we'll be right there with you to keep spreading cheer though. And
You're doing
Fighting
wonderful
fires
things. You're helping people.
Awesome.
And
Well,
that's
Santa,
the most important.
we know you're very busy. Anything else you want to say to the members of Sioux City Fire before you go, or the people of Sioux City?
Just keep doing wonderful things. Be good to each other. It's important to remember that this time of year.
Any advice for the local as we go forth in our union adventures?
Come together. Remember the reason that you came together in the first place. Enjoy the camaraderie and brotherhood that it provides you. And have a wonderful year.
Awesome.
wow, thanks, Santa.
Thank you very much, Santa.
Couldn't have
Yeah,
said
I
it
mean,
better.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Just hanging with Santa podcast.
No big deal.
I mean,
First
yeah,
podcast
Joe-
we've had to be
come on.
one of the first podcasts to
It's
bring
got to be
Santa
the
live
biggest
to you.
like
I mean,
celebrity that we've had on the
Joe
show
Rogan
so far.
has not had Santa Claus.
I don't
yet.
think no.
we
I
should
don't think
fact
so.
check that,
We
but
should-
I don't think so.
No.
There's
You
no
should
way.
fact check
No,
it.
no.
I only go to the best events
Oh
around.
man.
There you go.
You guys are doing wonderful work here, but I must be on, so
Okay.
thank you
Yeah,
very
we
much.
don't want to
Safe
keep you,
travels,
Santa.
Santa.
We
Thank
know
Thank you,
you're busy.
Santa. Safe travels back to the
Stay
North
warm
Pole.
this week.
Yes, it's a cold week. Look at that. Oh, you can hear it.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
Santa.
Christmas,
Thank you.
Santa. Oh, thank you.
Wow. Off he goes.
Off he goes.
Just like that.
See you,
Man.
Santa.
Santa Claus.
That's
All right.
really magical.
That
It
is
really
crazy.
is.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. Santa Claus showing up.
Sandy.
What are the odds of that?
I mean, if you told, like I said, getting up this morning, but even if you told me when I was like 5 years old and write my Santa list that someday I would be in Sioux City, from northern Minnesota, be in Sioux City on a podcast, sitting next to Santa Claus, like, forget it.
should
You know?
ask
Dreams
him.
come
It's like
true.
there is
Dreams
nothing- yeah.
do come true.
Should have asked him
Flat
about
out.
why I didn't get that bicycle a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then
You
also
probably were not good.
the deal with my mom, but we don't have time for that. Let's keep it moving. We have a new guest, Captain Dusty Johnson.
Hello, hello.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey,
Good to be here.
Welcome.
Nice.
That never gets old. I love Leroy Jenkins.
Real quick, you want to talk about the Leroy Jenkins with the active 911?
Oh, yeah. So whenever calls come in on Active 911, that is one of our options for on the iPad that will come across. I'll play Leroy Jenkins. And so for a while in Engine 3, that might have been one of our little tones
There we go.
in the
You'd
engine.
be
So
sitting in the bay and you'd hear that in the background. Like, okay, we're going somewhere.
yeah, we're going somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Thumbs up, boys. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So we're in episode 3. We've been talking, about the future of this podcast and where it goes, and you were on our list of guests. We didn't know when we'd get to you. We have a long list, so for our members listening, if you're thinking like, hey man, I'd love to be on that, you probably will be asked at some point. Just stay with us. We have plenty of time, thankfully. We're not going anywhere anytime soon, at least until this gets shut down. But so Cap, we're thrilled to have you. We're glad we got you around
thanks.
this time of year because it's busy. And you're a family man, so thank you for taking time out of your day to be
Yeah,
with
thanks,
us.
Cap.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate being here. This is fun. You do such a good job with this, and it's exciting to watch. And so I wanted to be a good guest, and I wanted to bring something special into your lives. And so I have gifts for each of you, and don't be bashful here. I want you to really enjoy this. Devin, here you go.
Go on in.
Here you
Okay,
go.
man. Thank
and
you. Wow.
I put a lot of heart into this, and it's just a little Christmas magic.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Cap got
What'd
me
you get?
Breathe
Oh,
with
classic.
Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy. I believe this would be what you call a romantic movie.
Yeah, and I think it was so good it went
my-
right to DVD.
Didn't even
That's
make
saying
the theaters.
something.
It is.
Netflix didn't want it.
Yes,
And
yes.
then what else do we have in here? I got a butter dish.
Everyone
Who
needs
doesn't need
Speaking
one
about
of those?
Everyone needs a
butter
butter
dish,
dish.
that's
Yeah.
well, we could get to it later, but I've got to find out from you what
butter's all
Is
about.
it Kerrygold or is it like off-brand butter? What's the butter? What's the
Oh yeah. I,
Didn't you eat a stick of butter?
No,
once?
no.
Allegedly.
That's allegedly. I can't take credit for that. There was someone else that I'll just keep nameless. That he did it, and I don't think the results were too good with it. So.
Shocking.
But there were other items that that maybe certain members of the audience might be watching later on, and I don't want to elaborate too much.
I've been told that for a certain price, there's almost nothing you won't eat.
Well, that was maybe the Dusty 18 to 19 years ago. I'd like to say I've matured a little bit and don't do that stuff.
yeah, definitely. Working
Yeah.
with you every day, night and day. I
Right,
can tell.
Right.
You've
Very
worked a lot
stoic, very
on it.
proper.
Your wife has to absolutely love it.
Oh yeah.
She loves when you go to work.
Yeah, just a real treat.
Saint Jen, man.
She is.
Jen
She
like
is a
real
saint.
thing. But
All right,
that's-
I'm gonna
What'd you
break.
get? What'd you get,
I'm gonna break this out.
Oh yeah.
I do love yoga, so Dr. Lisa's Yoga Blast. And
Yes. Get ready to
if
work,
I'm not
my
mistaken,
friend.
there's more parts to this, but thank you for this one. I don't have this one yet.
Yes, I
so-
know how you like to exercise, and fitness is important to you.
It
That's
is.
why the next part of this present is very, very nice.
all right.
Can I borrow that when you're done?
Well, thank you. I got leg jeggings. Is that what these are? Leg warmers? Leggings? Leg
Yes,
warmers.
It's cold,
Great.
and you need to keep your legs warm.
You know, that weight room just isn't hot enough for me.
I know,
So
I know.
get ready
Time of year.
to see these tomorrow.
Okay,
when
I am
come
planning
shift.
on it.
So,
Well, will you be wearing anything else? With
women's,
that?
but hey, I'm calling them unisex.
hey,
This is
that's
great.
right.
This is a great.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
And
All
then
right.
Phil,
Let's see what we got.
you
here.
really got some good stuff here too.
Is
Oh,
it Uggs?
my very own copy of Divas.
That is the gift
This
that
is-
keeps on giving,
that-
my friend.
Yeah.
Fame can murder. This is fantastic.
Yes.
I don't, hopefully, like, I don't even think I even own a DVD player. I think we have one at the Firehouse, so
yeah,
we'll be able to watch
great.
this. I think this is going to be a crew movie.
Can we read
Crew
the
bonding.
from
Phil,
vacation.
Phil, can you read the back of Divas?
The pack of divas, like
What is the description?
when a
of Divas?
conniving over the hill Hollywood diva mysteriously turns up dead, and no one knew her surprised. No one knew her is. No one who knew her is surprised. Okay, when she turns up dead. Now everyone, including co-stars or directors, are suspects. There's a label like the price tag over
The
there.
dollar store label's getting in the way. I apologize.
Suspects and an ambitious police detective with stardom is tasked with getting to the bottom of this Hollywood whodunit. So,
And can
It
you,
sounds like
looking at
some,
the front, can you name
thriller.
any actor without looking at the top?
I originally thought that was maybe Marlon Wayans, but it is not. So I don't. So this is exciting because
we're in
it's
Looks
for
all
like a
new,
thriller.
all
It
new
does.
people. So
That
what else
sounds
do we
like
get
it.
in here with this? some nice disposable shoe covers.
Yeah,
'cause
you
that's
never
just-
know when you might
never
need
know.
those.
You never know.
Yeah.
Very
You're
handy.
walking around and stuff. Well, because
Muck.
if it's a murder mystery together, right? So if you're investigating a murder, you don't want
Yes.
to leave your shoe
Or a
prints around
murdering.
a murder scene, right?
Like murdering task to get done.
So
You might
fantastic.
need to put on some
Might
shoe
be.
covers.
That's
Shoe
right.
covers.
Oh, this was a lovely surprise.
Well,
Thank
hey,
you. Yeah,
it's,
thanks, Cap.
butter
This
dish
is
and-
fantastic.
pleasure is all mine,
Yeah,
fellas. I hope you enjoy
Watch
this.
Devin do yoga.
I'll tell you right now.
I want to watch Devin do yoga. That might be.
Well, I know what we're doing for our hour of PT tomorrow.
All right, done. I
Station
cannot
three,
wait.
Station
Yoga.
yoga.
We are
and
going
then
out of
then,
service.
The
and then
Andrew
you guys
Garfield.
got the movie there
romantic
too.
comedy.
Movie day. Yep.
Don't ask me to come watch that with you. I've already seen it.
It's a tearjerker.
We cry every time.
Cry.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna use my butter dish. So, well, Cap, that was awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, man. Santa and gifts from
Santa.
Captain Johnson.
Yep.
Man.
That's a good
Best day
It's a
ever.
good Christmas episode.
So, let's get into things. We're
All
gonna talk some
right.
shop today. Let's start at the beginning of your career. I want to go back. Actually, I guess this will start before your career. Your dad was a firefighter. Michael. Do you know when he came on the job?
Yeah, so he came on in 1974.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have legacy firefighters. Obviously, a little
Right.
unique history that everyone knows. Your dad and Kirk Wicker both gave it everything. They gave their life in
Yeah.
the line of duty in 1982 at the Hen House fire.
Yeah.
Not only a fire that's known to us, but at the state level and the national level, because legislation was passed after that.
Exactly.
And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe the story was kind of in that time frame. You had people that would burn down their building or hire someone to collect insurance money if whatever their building wasn't profitable, they couldn't rent it, and you saw a lot of fires because of that. And then unfortunately we lost 2 of our own, and because of that there's legislation change. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that came out from that was the felony murder doctrine. So if a person commits a felony and as a result of that felony someone dies from it, then the charges for that escalate greatly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, this escalated very high at the national level too, and then it really had taken off from there.
Yeah, I believe that was Senator Grassley.
It was. Yeah,
Chuck
we
Grassley
actually
that
we
brought
still
that
have
up.
the letter from Senator Grassley
Wow.
at home too, which it's pretty neat.
Big piece of history.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, your dad Michael and Kirk Wicker. That was the last 2 line of duties this department's have, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yes.
Some tragic history for our department, but nonetheless, we do our best to find. We remember our fallen, and we do our best to find positivity and growth in unfortunate things like that. And I think just working with you, you're such a positive guy all the way around. So I think it's just a good example of what overcoming adversity and things like that. This happened when you were fairly young.
Yeah,
So-
I was 2.
So what was
2 years
what
old.
was your mindset or your outlook on being a firefighter or the fire department growing up, whether you were a little kid, teenager, and then into a young adult into high school?
Right. So I knew pretty early on that this is what I wanted to do. And, I looked at a few other things, but this one was really calling my name. And what really drew me here was not only like the camaraderie, but just the excitement, the adventure, and just not knowing what the day is going to bring. And I think that's what really makes it so exciting. And the things that excited me back then still excite me now. And I know you all probably feel the same way, and how exciting and wonderful this job is. And so, for very good reason, my folks weren't too thrilled about my career
that was
choice.
Something I was going to ask. How did your family feel?
I knew that that they weren't too excited, and especially with the risks and what had happened with Dad and Kirk, that that we put ourselves in harm's way, and that there's a chance that if I was to go into this profession, that I wouldn't come home. So that was a little that was a sticking point, and so I think they knew that I'm a little bit stubborn, and I wasn't going to give up on it. And so I sat down with my brother, and him and I had a talk about it, and I remember this conversation clearly. We went to Bob Rose. It was just him and I, and he was like, "What are you doing? Do you know how this is upsetting, Mom?" And I'm like, "I know, but I really, really want to do it." Yeah. And I had my heart set on it, and then he's like, "Okay," and then my folks, they seen it, how excited I was and wanted to do it, and then they're like started to become a little more accepting of it too, which, man, hats off to them, because I know being in their spot too, wow, I would have some pretty strong misgivings too, and now that I'm a dad too, I can totally empathize with their viewpoint on that. It's a little tricky, and right now we have my oldest son Jackson. He's wanting to be a firefighter too.
That's
so
cool.
it's pretty cool. Man. So they're potentially a third generation here too.
It would be really hard to not be proud of at some point. I could see the hesitation at the beginning, and then I assume there was a turning point at some point where they were. It was really cool when you graduated probation and all that kind of stuff, to see hey, this is really cool, and Dad would be proud, and all that kind of stuff.
So with that, because your dad, he was assigned down to threes, right?
Yeah, he was the driver of Engine 3.
So what was that like then? Because I guess before, when you were still little and stuff, did you ever visit your dad down at threes? Because you and Jesse were the last probies to start at Old Threes.
That's correct.
The last one. So did you ever visit your dad at Old Threes?
Yeah,
so now, what was that like then, coming back as a probationary firefighter to your dad's firehouse to Old Threes? What was that like for you?
So when I know when I got brought down there, I still pretty little yet, still just a little punk with curly hair, so I don't remember too much, but starting probation at a station that my dad worked, it was so surreal that, like, going up this set of steps, this is something that Dad would have done. Going down this pole, Dad slid down this same pole at one point in his career, and it was so neat. It just seemed like there were just these connections just coming into place, along with some of his coworkers. So when I started, there were a lot of firefighters that had worked with Dad. So it was neat hearing stories about him. He liked to do pranks too, which
checks out.
So maybe some of those traits got passed down, which is pretty neat.
Out. I'm marking that down.
Yeah, maybe just one or two pranks.
It's all coming together.
That's right.
Yep. So that's 2002, and you are how old?
I was 22 then.
22.
Yeah, so I actually had started my last semester at morning psychology then. So I started in March on the fire department, graduated from Morningside 2 months later. So I was juggling both there for a little bit.
Oh, man.
So you tested once.
Yeah.
And you sat on, how long did you sit on the hiring list before you got a job?
Let's see, I probably sat 3 to 4 months.
Okay, so you were probably one of the first hires on your hiring list.
Right, and when I was in the process, I just got done with the physical test, and that's when 9/11 happened.
Wow.
And I remember being in class, and I don't know if I just did some training just to get ready for that physical test, and then we were watching everything unfold there, and at that moment, it was just like became galvanized. Like this is an extreme motivator that I want to put myself in this spot, and you guys can attest to this too. That if there is a dangerous situation, man, send me. Let's go.
Let's do it.
And just seeing those guys go in, that was a huge motivator right there.
So
And
I know
I
you,
think some of us, because we were on the same same
yeah.
list, because we came, our group came on 6 months after you guys did, and that, and I think for us that was, we did have a different mindset for the fire service going in, because prior to that 9/11 wasn't a thing, and then we were the first groups getting hired, and how different, I think, than even talking to guys that were on the job, and how much more stuff was coming in for, you saw the USAR stuff and the hazmat crew, and then all the different things because of that, and how quickly it grew. It was a different time, I think, in the fire service than it was just prior to that. But yeah, we were some of the first people to come on right after that. So that was,
absolutely.
Cap, I know you talked about earlier, joking a little bit about being stoic. When I think of the word stoic, I want you to know you're one of the first people I think of, especially having worked with you every day. And then you're talking about 9/11, and after the tragedy that you've already experienced personally, then that just solidifying that even more and making that feed that energy for you to want to do this job even more. You could have turned around and been like, whoa, it's a little way too real now. You know what I mean? This could happen to anyone any day, but especially a guy like you. But I just want you to know, when you talk about pride, like Ben had mentioned earlier, there's no doubt in my mind, every person that's met you is proud of you because of what you're doing and what you've been
appreciate
through.
that.
Just want you to know that, man.
Thank you.
It's just sick. I love seeing it, because we talked about 9/11 a little bit, but as a kid being, I was a little kid when that happened. I was talking like 3rd grade, right? I mean, I had heroes before that. Those guys and every guy that had died in the line of duty since then or before then, those were my heroes growing up.
Yeah,
Besides,
absolutely.
talk about legacy, even me, but man, I can already see you're someone's hero already. I'm sure Jackson probably someday can look back and say, hey, man, my dad's one of my heroes, So it's just cool watching this stuff. And the fire service, you're embodying the fire service. It's so cool, man. I love it. I love having you here. It's sick.
You were talking about your families being like, oh, what are you doing? And then 9/11 happens. They got to be thinking, what are you doing?
I know. There's probably had to have been a lot of head scratching, like, oh, man.
Because
really?
you told them, did you tell them when you got the job offer or when you were applying?
So I told them that before the testing process had started, that this is what I wanted to do, and and then right in the middle of my senior year at Morningside, and so it was kind of funny because knowing full well what I wanted to go into with a career in the fire service, I'm like, oh, what can I take that's going to be as close to firefighting as possible? Criminal justice. So
right along the path.
See how that panned out.
I'm just gonna send it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Did you, before you got hired, did you have a lot of people that worked with your dad that were kind of mentors, uncles growing up, and you made visits to the fire station regularly and checked in with the guys? Yeah.
So one of them was Pat O'Donnell, and he was on Engine 6, drove Engine 6, and he did. Yeah. He gotten word that I was testing. He's like, well, come on and ride with me. Pat's gruff voice, and so it was Joe Small and Lieutenant Troy Sonicson there, and so I got to go and ride on the back Engine 6, and it was spectacular. Actually, I had a garage fire come in one of the days I rode. Of course, and Pat's like, stay by the pump panel. It's just like, okay. And from that moment on, just seeing those guys work, just seeing how smooth operations were, how they could get hand lines in place and make fire attacks so quick. I'm like, this is a well-oiled machine. These guys are total pros, and it just stoked that fire even more. Like, man, I want to be a part of this. This is just so exciting. Yeah.
So you come on the job in 2002. What was probation? What was your probation like?
So we had a pretty good cast of characters on probation, and so my fellow probationary firefighter, he's now Lieutenant Jesse Pedersen, and I, we were pretty much in the barrel every day. We got picked on just a little bit, and most of it is Jesse's fault, though, because you know how he is.
No way.
I know. And
he would never cause any trouble.
He would not cause any problems.
I got 2 things with Jesse, quick.
I got lots of things. I could spend all day here.
Do we want to talk about the lawn furniture while we're on Jesse?
Let's go ahead and bring that up.
Do it.
Let's do it.
Take us through that story.
Okay, so Jesse and I, we usually prank each other. Although after this incident, curtailed it a little bit, but with just a few exchanges here and there, him and I messing with each other. And so I'm on duty and he is off, and so he starts texting me pictures of our lawn furniture up on the roof of our house. And so Jen comes home. She's like, I think somebody broke into her house. There's our furniture's on the house. And then I said, Jesse did that. He sent me pictures, and immediately the tone changes. Like, you're messing with him. And now he's starting to mess with us. Yeah. You need to get home, and you need to take that stuff off the roof right now. And so I'm like, okay, I'm at work. I can't do it. And so I'm calling Jesse, and he's not answering it. Like, come on, answer. And so finally get a hold of him. I'm like, dude, you got to get over to my house and take that stuff off. And so he finally gets over there, and Jen's out talking to one of the neighbors, and then she looks at him, and if looks could kill, Jesse would have been murdered like 100 times over. And so he gets and takes that stuff off and gets out of Dodge, and which is probably good for his safety.
Good. That's fun. You guys have had a good friendship.
Oh, we have. We tease each other now, and 30 years from now, when we're a couple of old farts, we'll still be doing it.
You guys be like poking each other's walkers at each other.
I'll be happy to kick his walker away from him.
Yeah, leave him on the ground.
Calling a lift assist.
So you were talking earlier about, kind of like how you're at Station 3 on probation. They pick on you guys, and that's kind of part of probation. You're down there now as the house captain, which puts you in charge of the probationary process.
Yes.
And that whole station. Why is that culture important to our new guys, and that they earn their badge, and that they go through that year?
Yes.
And it's from day 1 to day 365. They are probationary, and you want to talk about that? Just that culture,
absolutely.
And why it's so important that we have that, and how it's still. If you went and worked at a bank, you wouldn't probably get some of the
ribbing and absolutely.
Year, so.
Yeah. So and it's so important. We talk about teasing and everything, and one of it is the big part of it is that you're not part of that group right away, and people are still trying to figure you out. And you have to earn your place, because this job is crucial. There are lives that hang in the balance. We have to depend on each other. We are with each other for an entire day. And so you have to earn respect. It's not something that you can walk right in and be like, hey, here I am. I'm the new guy. I'm an equal. Mm-hmm. You have to be put under pressure. You have to earn your place on that rig. You have to show up ready to work every single day. And the moment you slack off, man, the chances of someone getting hurt or killed increase dramatically. So right from the get-go, we create this mentality at the station, which, it sounds like it's rough, and it sounds like, we haze and tease, and it's the exact opposite. I want to say it's tough love, because we want these people to succeed. We want them to grow as individuals, become excellent firefighters, and we want them to know that if you want respect on this job, you got to work your tail off for it. You got to earn your stripes and continue to improve yourself, and then things start changing. And then you earn that respect. And a really crucial part of this is that, and it's some of these lessons that people learn, is that you can't take yourself seriously. This job has a way of humbling you. Mm-hmm. And if you, Devin and I have talked about this too, there are two types of people in this career. There are those that are humbled and those that are about to be humbled. Yeah. And so being able to laugh at yourself, being able to take crap with style, being able to understand that, look, I'm not always going to be right. I'm going to mess up, and how to toughen up, accept your faults, the errors that you make, suck it up and move on. These are all critical skills that we teach our new folks down at when they're on their probationary period.
It's good not to be afraid, like you said, not to be afraid to accept that you made a mistake or that you are wrong or something, because I think some, the old school mentality of I don't know if everybody was just afraid of losing their job or just afraid of like we're totally infallible, right? So now I think we've created that where it's no, if you're going to make a mistake, but we use it as a teachable moment, right? And you build, even as with 20 years on the career, on a job and still to make mistakes, but accept it, move on from it, build from it. It's a lot better, I think, than what we started
exactly.
with,
These are lifelong skills that we're teaching these people that they get put in that position of leadership. They mess up. Now they're going to have a better frame of reference on how to handle this stress and how to handle criticism on this. Suck it up and move on. And it's we are during that first year of probation for these folks. We welcome them into that family. Even though we bust their chops a little bit, they are part of that family, and everybody down and assigned at that station looks after them like they're their own little brother or sister and takes them in, and it's like nobody's gonna mess with you.
Yeah, we'll mess with you.
Yeah, we're gonna mess with you, but nobody else is gonna. But as much as like I said, there's that busting of chops. That's these people going through this first year have some pretty good guardian angels looking after them to make sure that they can operate safely and are taught these lessons that are going to keep them surviving and enjoy a really long career.
Yeah, and being down there, that's a huge responsibility because, like you said, you may have someone with 45 days on the job, and it doesn't matter what fire comes in or what call comes in. You got to be ready for it. You got to lead these people, and you're responsible for them. Mm-hmm. And then, there's 3 shifts down there, and they all watch these probationaries go and they float and get their 4th man and grow into their career. And, some of these senior guys that were down there, whether in the past or still are, they've watched guys go all the way to the promotional level and now are lieutenants or maybe even captains. So it's got to be pretty cool to watch your probies grow up.
That is incredibly exciting. It's, some of them I've got to see get promoted up to lieutenant, and some are on captain's list right now. And it is so exciting. And then what's really fun to think about too is that we could have a future chief or two that is currently in probation or maybe starting probation in the near future. Then it's neat to be able to guide these people along that process.
I don't know about our current probies, maybe, but
well, that's debatable.
We'll see what the future holds.
You gotta go
those guys.
Right
You were
now.
talking about going through probation, and you basically being the coordinator of probation right now for young men coming and women coming on the job. Patience has to be a big part of that, right?
Oh yeah,
and
it does.
You're one of the most patient guys I know. Is that like something you learned, or did you have to practice it, or did it just come with time on the job and working with probationaries and younger folks?
Right. So I would say it was a combination of practicing with it, becoming patient as I got older. And I know that experience and time in the job helped too, because if I blow up on a situation, if something happened and I lose my cool, then I'm gonna have to play catch up later on, and especially if I don't have all the facts and all the information too, I'm gonna look pretty foolish if I blow my top. So to avoid that whole thing, I want to get that whole perspective on what's going on, and then act accordingly from it too.
Yeah,
so
sure.
So one of the questions I got here: if you had advice for any young firefighter, whether it's starting probation or maybe just floating right now, what advice would you have for them?
There are a few things that I would say that some of our younger personnel could think about that help them in the long run, and one of them is just to be patient, because you have a wonderful career ahead of you, and a career that could last you almost 30 years. And so definitely being patient, like we had just talked about, is important. And, don't rush into trying to move up the promotional ladder. Take your time, become a really good firefighter, keep working on your skills and studying, taking different classes to become extremely well-rounded.
Yeah. You talk about patience. That's probably something I've struggled with as a young guy.
It's hard to do.
That's hard.
Because maybe not with the promotion stuff. If I'm ever an officer one day, God help that crew. But
you're gonna do fine.
I know, like, you get in with the crew, especially maybe at the double houses too, and you go on that probationary year and you prove yourself. And at the end of the year, that probationary crew probably has some respect for you if you did a good job.
Yes.
But the other houses don't know you.
Right. You got to start over.
Now you got to start over.
You do.
And that's one house, and there's 7 houses, and there's 3 shifts, and it could take 5 to 7 years before you work with kind of the whole department enough to where they know you, first name basis type stuff, and just establishing that and kind of earn your street cred. And that's, as a younger guy, there's nothing better than when you have that opportunity and you nail it, whether it's a fire, you're pumping, and that officer comes back or the driver and say, hey, good job in there today, or hey, nice job on the knock, or hey, way to find it, or good work in there. Because then all of a sudden, that's, it sounds cliche, but that's like us going to war. It's us going, fighting these fires or these big calls, and that builds camaraderie.
It does.
And then all of a sudden now it's like, hey, the new kid handled himself pretty well today, and just a little bit more and more and more, you just establish yourself.
Right.
So I
right.
love that advice.
Yeah.
It's something that I've had to learn.
Yeah, and the hard
way.
I talk about being patient. I'll be the first to tell you, I've had my moments. I've screwed up. I've lost my cool, done stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the best things you can do is just own up to it.
Yeah.
Like I like reading Jocko books. I love listening to Jocko podcast, and one of the things he talks about is that extreme ownership.
Yep.
So if you screw up, you can't blame anyone else for your problems. And I think, if we expand a little bit, societal problems kind of focus on this too. We tend to blame others for our problems. And if you look in the mirror, be like, you're the reason why this is happening. X, Y, and Z are happening. It's up to you to fix it.
Absolutely. We've talked about off this podcast before. If you have a probationary that maybe they're not performing up to snuff, you accept that responsibility. That's not on the probationary. That's on you. I'm not doing a good enough job training that person. Or if I may have to be harder on them, maybe I have to drill them out in the bay for 4 hours until they never screw that up again. You take that responsibility past the point of, God, the kid's a mess up. What can I say? Like, he's a goof.
That's right. And at that point, failure is not an option. So if we see somebody struggling, okay, like, let's take a look at how our approach is. And especially, I'm not going to say Phil and I are old, maybe seasoned.
Yes,
Now,
I like to use the term, veteran.
Veteran,
or,
like that.
Masters.
Yes, yes.
Something like that.
Yeah. So especially dealing with some of the newer generation personnel that we have too, like some of the approaches that we have maybe worked at one point, but now it's like we have to be adapting in some things and how we handle, we talk, we instruct, because people are learning differently. And so if we can adapt how we teach and instruct and communicate with people, we can reach them at their level and then help them succeed.
Yeah. And every probationary is a little different.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
Every person's different.
The three you have right now are all mid-20s. And then cycles before that, you had Harold and Derek. And Harold's in his mid-30s.
Yeah.
And Derek was a college grad, so he's young.
Yeah.
It's just everyone's all over. Everyone's just a little different.
Right,
And
right.
that's got to be quite the challenge to learn to manage everyone specifically.
It is, and that's what really makes it fun.
Yes.
Devin can attest to it too. At Threes is working with these new people and how exciting it is, and how it makes you understand that I need to stay up on top of my skills here, because I'm teaching these people, and I don't want to look like a total goofball and not be able to execute this drill right. And if I do screw up, or if I do it poorly, guess what? I'm going to own it, and you have to own it in front of them. And I think that shows you it shows them that human side of, okay, look, this person messed up. They're my officer. And then here they're going to practice and do better at it. And so I think with these failures, they come great teaching points that they can build off.
You just talked about being humble, and that's just a great example why that's so important.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
You're either humble or the job will humble you.
That's right.
And I think that's a good test of when you manage these probationaries. Is you can have this is my way or the highway. You're going to do as I say. And then you have to maybe sometimes bend that and go, okay, well, this person I have to be a little different when it comes to instructing them and teaching them. I think that puts a lot of tests to the people down there and the important job that they have training
right.
our future.
Yeah, and that's what's neat with the crews that we have down there. Captain Tom Yoakum, he's the other station captain on there on Truck 3, and he helps oversee that program. But our drivers, like Devin, Brandon DeRocher are like on our shift, and then we have some great officers and drivers on the other shifts. What makes it so exciting down there and such a well-rounded group is that we have a good team. It's not a one-person show. We have we have these great drivers and officers down there that help instruct. We have fourthmen that help instruct, and so these probationers get a lot of different viewpoints too. So
it's
a
their
lot
own
of different experiences.
family. You have like, kind of like the hard dad. You have the kind mom. And then you have the fun uncle. That they all take turns. So let's back up. So probation and floating, and then let's just go down your career quick. 4th assigned lieutenant captain. Where were the stops you made along the way?
Well, so I really didn't wander too far from Station 1 and Station 3. So after floating, I floated about 3.5 years, which it was fun. I really enjoyed floating. And then I moved to 4th on Truck 1, then 3rd on Truck 1, drove Engine 3, Lieutenant Truck 1, Captain Engine 3, Captain Truck 1, Captain Engine 3.
Awesome. So that's pretty fun. Double houses.
Yes, and that double house is
pretty
so
even
much
time between truck and engine life there. Huh?
I know. I won't say which one I like more.
You like
well-rounded.
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 So we'll go through that. You want to talk about some fires?
Yes.
Where you want to start? You want to start beginning and go up, or you want to start kind of now and go backwards?
We can. I'm starting to get older, and my memory is getting a little hazy. Maybe embellishing a few things. Let's start newer.
Okay. So with that being said, you have to talk about Captain Chaos and that nickname, and why they call you that.
There it is. So one cool thing with the fire service is that if you come up with a nickname for yourself, it's totally going to get thrown in the trash. You are going to get a nickname whether you want it or not, and it's because some facial feature or some screw up that you've done, or just some bonehead stunt you've pulled. Mine
all terms of endearment.
Yeah.
By the way, right?
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. Every
With
bit
love.
of it.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a little bit of a rumor that whenever I fill in the assistant chief's office, that that unusual calls come in or massive structure fires come in.
Wait,
and
who's saying it's a rumor?
Yeah.
It's almost,
I think we're all under the realization here.
Allegedly, there have been massive fires, or
it's almost scary at this point.
I know, and it's almost expected.
Yeah,
like,
not for me. I just go, well.
When they see your name
happening.
and crew sense in the car, everyone just go, all right, what are we going to do tonight?
Yeah.
We're not sleeping. We're doing something. So we have some written down here. When we had our pre-podcast meeting, this fire had not happened yet. No. So let's talk about 10 days ago.
Okay.
I was down at Station 1. I'll kind of give you my perspective quick.
Yes.
Chief Kelleher goes home. He goes home a little early on vacation. He was going to the Black Hills the next morning. You're in the car for 90 whole minutes. And then what happened?
Oh, I keep bumping my cowbell. I apologize. Yeah, so for 90 minutes, let me just backtrack a little bit because I can't remember if it was at Station 3 or Station 1. Maybe it was both. Somebody's like, oh, great, Cap Chaos is here, so what are we going to have? And I said, well, maybe a nice defensive fire. Great. That was very... that was not.
So
not good.
have the members of the CRR talked to you yet?
I called him. So I was calling to talk to Kelleher, and Cap answers the phone. I immediately, what's the first thing I told you to do? I said, I think I told him go back to 3s.
Yeah.
I said no. I said it was going to be snow. The weather was going to be bad.
It was.
He's in the car. I said no. I said go back to 3s. We're not doing
Put
this
someone
today.
else in
He's
there.
just
First
started
thing he
laughing.
says before he leaves 3s is go, hey, see you in about a half an hour, buddy.
So just
We'll add
joking.
a 60-minute on
We have a
that.
chat. We have a chat. We're joking around and just talking whatever. And he said, just make sure he's like, have that deck gun on engine 4, dialed in and sighted in. and stuff.
Sighted in. That's
Sighted
how I
in.
used
I
it.
said, yeah, So yeah, okay, we'll see. We'll see after a while. Yeah, 10 minutes later. I mean, not even kidding.
Yeah, I know that is just so unusual, and I don't know what it is, but there's definitely a black cloud that just follows me, and I can't shake it.
Hey,
So-
the Lord gives his toughest battles to those that can handle it, and those are the toughest. So
And then what
I remember you said
happened
that
there? We were
night,
up all night. I made my bed shortly after I got downtown, and I did not see it until I picked it
all.
up the next day.
So take us through the Ida fire.
Yeah, so it was, I want to say 8:53 when that one came in,
just before
and
9.
I'm like, oh no, here we go. And I was thinking, maybe we might have some burnt food or something like that.
We go there a lot for fire.
Yeah,
alarms
yeah.
and burnt
We've
food.
had different calls, fire alarms there, and so I may have went in route as Chief 19, Chaos 19's in route.
I never heard that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
And so as it got closer, it was snowing at that point. Roads were starting to get a little terrible. I could see in the street lights, I wasn't sure if it was smoke or if it was just the snow, and got up on scene on Pierce Street. And at that point, I had a waiver say, hey, it's over here. And I looked up and I could see this brown smoke coming out of the attic space and some of the attic vents. And as you guys know, that brown smoke coming out of any structure is not a good indicator that now we got structural members
Especially
actually
in
burning.
that type of construction.
Yeah, you
old
have
building.
Yeah, it
in
was
the
a
attic.
122-year-old building.
Wow.
And so
And all it took was Captain Chaos being in the car one night. Huh?
I know
For 90 minutes. And
for 90 minutes is all it took. And so the bad part about it was that you have an old building. There's not much fire stops inside that building. The attic, the fire had free reign with that too. So and it what made it worse is there's some pretty good head start on it too.
And you had 3 engine crews in there. We made an offensive effort at first.
Yeah, we went offensive right out of the gate with that. And I know Engine 1 and Truck 1, they had pulled up over on, it was 19th, I believe.
they were on 19th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And then I talked with Phil as soon as he got on scene here. And about 8 minutes into it, at that point, the guys were starting to make an attack. 8 minutes. I'm like, this is... The potential for this going south is a real probability. And so one of those, I said, I requested a second alarm. So requested a 4th engine to this address. And then a short time later requested a support alarm. So we had administrative staff, community risk reduction, rehab officer coming in place here.
Poor Chief Kelleher.
I
The
know.
look on his face, because he was supposed to go to the hills.
Yeah,
And
he was
gonna go home,
getting
get a
ready
nice
to go on a little mini
vacation.
vacation, and he looked at me and he goes, "Really?"
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I was like, "How's the hills, Chief?"
Yeah, he was
Back
getting
so
ready.
soon.
I
Wow.
know, getting
How
ready to
was
leave
it?
about 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And back to work he goes. Yeah, so we had some pretty unique circumstances in that. One of them was the amount of people that we had, because a real concern of all of ours was how many people we have in this building yet? How many of them are not going to come out because of the frequency of fire alarms?
That's that complacency.
That's a
that's,
real threat
That's
with-
what happens
with
with
a
buildings
lot-
like that, where we get a
Yes.
lot of the burnt food and the smoke of the building stuff.
Right.
People just don't. So anybody that does get out of the building, when they, the fire alarm, because you're supposed to get out, I kind of always tend to just tell somebody, hey, thanks for getting out, because they do.
Yeah.
But that's anybody that's listening. If you're in an apartment, especially apartment building stuff, the fire alarm's going off, get out. There's a reason why those things are there.
Exactly.
And I know it's it might be 99% of the time it might just be burnt food or a malfunction or something, because we get a lot of those. And we had a lot, we had some of those at Ida and having responded a number of times for that kind of stuff. But in this case, it wasn't. It was the real deal.
I don't mean to be
You know,
too
people
graphic,
need to get
but
out.
standing out in the cold for a little while is much better than suffocating to death or, possibly getting burned or anything,
Absolutely.
We want to talk about some of the indicators, because I was on truck 1 that night. We were on the roof. We cut a ventilation hole, and we had fire come through that, as well as in that Charlie Delta corner. What is that an indicator of, and why is that all of a sudden? And Engine 3, I believe, was in there, Brandon and Corey, and they had some ceiling falling on them.
Yes.
And that's kind of the indicator of this thing is starting to become dangerous.
Right. So then I know Phil was up in that apartment. We had Engine 1 up there too. They had reported that some of the ceiling was starting to come down, and conditions on the outside after that was being reported, it was starting to reflect that. And fire was venting through the roof, and further east along that building going towards that alpha side, that's when I could see smoke starting to work its way out there, starting to come through those vents.
Truck 3 was up on the alpha side
Yes.
roof line, and it was coming out of every vent.
hard to
Thick,
Yes.
black and brown. So
Right.
It was well ahead
And I know
of
that's
them.
what Engine 1 said. They getting access to the fire was really tough. It was like there was wood or a door or something in the
It's
attic.
that attic. It's the access to it at the top of that stairwell.
Correct.
It's not a lot of space to operate. I mean,
So,
you're
a lot of
like on your
adversity.
hands and knees.
It's
You
right.
just can't really get
It
out
was
there.
a very complicated building too,
Yeah.
with just the arrangement of that getting if you wanted to do a full-on attic assault in there, how many ceilings would you have to open up? From what it sounded like, it was very difficult in some of those spots to breach that and get into that attic space.
Well, and being interior and stuff and seeing what our conditions were there, and then hearing what you're saying, it wasn't until later on where I came back, like a couple days later, whenever I watched Siouxland Scanner had some pretty good video of, because you can actually watch in the stairwell where our flashlights are, and actually watch us when we at the point where we started coming down the stairwell, watch it and trace the flashlights and stuff, because the conditions inside that, we didn't necessarily have the smoke, but we were starting to get heat. And once the ceiling, you're pulling the ceiling, then just saw so much fire over our heads, and we weren't getting anywhere with it. And that's when you're like, hey, we want to turn on these master streams. We got fire through the roof. And it was like, that's when, it's like, we're not getting anywhere doing this. And we're just going to get in trouble.
Because you guys both drove. When you're standing outside and you know what changes you're supposed to be seeing, and they say they're flowing water inside, and there's absolutely no changes from the outside, you're like, hey, it's probably time to start thinking about pulling.
When we came out and stuff, but then I watched that video to see how much fire was through the roof. Yeah. It's like she was that. I think that thing had a good bite on that building before we even got there.
Yeah, I think so too. And really, what it needed is just a little bit of air to get introduced to it, and then it took off.
So then, kind of around the same time, simultaneously, we did a primary search from the top floor down, got everyone out.
Yes,
and then kind of around this time we went defensive.
Right. So we that was going back to the people potentially still being inside. Is I wanted to get that all clear from that place too, because I'm not sure what kind of state some of the people are in this. If we have any disabled occupants that might not be able to get out. So we had Engine 8, Engine 3, and I think Engine 4 worked the place from top to bottom, opening doors, forcing doors, doing that primary search in all of these units to make sure we got everybody out. And that was weighing pretty heavy on me. And then I know right around that time when I got reports that we had a primary clear on all floors, and then the timing just on that, it was just so unique. And that's when stuff started to change. And then it's like, okay, now I feel better about getting everybody out of there, especially when that roof started to take off on us. The 10-minute checks in that were very helpful too, because that was a good frame of reference that, okay, we're after that first 10-minute check, we're not really seeing too much progress being made. It was kind of a stalemate, and then after that second one, then the fire was definitely starting to take a little bit more hold of it.
Yeah, and then defensive, and 12 hours later they were there the next day, a couple of getting
relieved on scene. And
so I think from an interior, just again watching the video and just everything we just learned in Blue Card and stuff with those, and we go over the commercial structures of the big occupancies and everything, and it's like it was almost just how we just went through scenario and you get to this point where you're like, defensive. And I think that was a good call on your part when you called in stuff, because we weren't getting anywhere, inside and stuff. And I think that was, keeping all of us safe and make that was a good call on your part to go defensive when you did. That was
heads up job on that.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's one of those things that when you're thrown into that spot that you're like, man, I want to make sure all these people get home too. And if it means we got to pull the plug early, then so be it. I want you all to go home.
Absolutely. So that's kind of Ida. I got a few more fires written down here.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of the same thing. You go in the car. Chief goes on flex time. Let's go back 2020. I believe it was May, and
it was a hot one.
Former Assistant Chief Dan Kugel was in the car. Kind of same thing. Was going home early on a little vacation time, and you were in the car for how long?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, and then what happened?
So at that one, that is when Feed Energy came in as a structure fire. And 20 minutes, and I couldn't believe it. So I took off. Comm Center had reported that there were explosions being reported on the scene, and I'm like, what? And so I turned on to Gordon Drive to head east right off Pierce Street, and seeing that smoke column come off of the location of Feed Energy, that was something I've never seen before. That column had to have just been visible for miles.
I know my wife was coming south on the interstate from Jefferson, and she could see it.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
And she saw the layer where it leveled out. You know, like it's
my goodness, that was I couldn't believe that one, and that was with the explosions being reported. I remember talking to Truck 1 because Truck 3 was on a medical call at that point.
On Correctionville Road, not too far away.
Yes.
And walking around the front of that house, I get the, oh boy. Well, boys, we're going.
Right.
Sorry, Corey and Tanner on the EMS call, but we got work to do. So we're going.
Yeah, and that was the first time that I can remember. I know it's the first time I ever requested that responding units, especially Truck 1, go defensive right away, get that aerial up in place, because we're gonna have we gotta have a fight on our hands with this one. And so I came down Cunningham, and just with how it worked out, I was the first on scene. I parked right in Cunningham, and Engine 6 rolled up over on the south side of the building, and right as soon as I opened that door for that Suburban, there was an explosion at the top of one of these burning silos, and it sent a piece of vent piping that was probably 4 foot long, just spiraling over to the direction of Engine 6.
I heard it went over Engine 6.
It did, and I was watching that, and I was like screaming, like, look out, look out. And of course, they wouldn't hurt me because of everything that was going, and it was just like slow motion, just watching the sail and then bounce off the concrete in that parking lot.
I just stepped out of the cab of, we were using Truck 10, Truck 90 at the time.
Currently owned by Andy Cohn.
Yeah. As soon as I stepped out of the cab, you feel it, you hear it, and I just huddle my head down and go, oh boy.
Oh, yes.
Get back in the cab real quick.
Yes.
Well, if you hear it, you're good, right? So
you would have been acting. You were acting on the truck that day.
Newer driver. I got a Proby and a fourth man with me on a reserve rig. Perfect storm.
Oh, yeah.
And Captain Chaos is in the car, and that's what happens.
Yeah,
so
and key ingredients are falling into place here.
I'm like, well, here we go.
Brandon's gotten so much time.
Brandon's got some pretty good experience whenever I fill in there. So that was one where we went defensive. I requested a second alarm. Right after that explosion, I wanted a par for all the other units that were arriving on scene, because I just saw one side of it. I didn't know if anything else had cooked off there after that, so I wanted to make sure everybody was okay. Everybody reported back, hey, we're all intact. Right next to some of these burning tanks was a big tank. It was a vinyl tank of, I want to say it was
hydrochloric acid.
Yeah, it was hydrochloric acid. So now we have an exposure here where if this heat starts impinging on that, now we're going to have to deal with, I don't know how many hundreds of gallons of acid. So request a second alarm. We got another engine. We had 185th come and help us. Yeah. And we had Sioux come over and
did they bring another aerial?
They did, and I know we had some spot fires that were starting to develop from some of the flying embers that were landing in Siouxland recovery. So the potential for this incident expanding tenfold was there, and so we were very, very thankful for the Sioux crews there.
Why not just a food oil plant? Let's go ahead and do the recycling center.
While we're
why
not?
Captain.
Haven't you been there, Devin, for like a 24-hour fire?
I've been to the recycling center a couple times over my short career.
A lot of burning material.
Falling in
at the recycling center,
like climbing over piles of recycling cardboard and material and falling through a hole because you don't know what's burning underneath you. It's never fun.
That's unsettling.
And you're there all night, every night.
Yes.
And it's just
densely packed.
Yeah.
Wow. So that one was, I thought, okay, well, I got my career fire out of the way.
Yeah, this won't happen again, right?
I'm done. That's it. And then realizing that, I got 12 years left, and there's a lot of 12 years filling in downtown that who knows what could happen. I'm still waiting for a meteorite hit the Siouxland area.
This one didn't turn into a big incident, but this is a couple months ago. I remember you came down, and I remember watching your hand touch the car door, and we went to a gas leak. I was like, what is up with this? Really
I was still putting my gear in the Suburban. And then I take off, and then AC Kelleher is just getting ready to drive home, and he does one of these. I'm like, I know.
The whole way.
I was.
That's brilliant. So let's go back. So that's Feed Energy. We'll go to one. This is this summer. I have the fire on Steuben Street, the trucking.
Yes. That one. That was a really unique one. That was one where Devin and we had some pretty unique experiences with that one. It came in the middle of the night, and whenever we talk with some of our new guys and gals, I always refer to 3 a.m. as being the lowest point in my IQ, which is, I'm sporting probably a 70 IQ at that time of the day. I'm dipping into probably mid 40s, so we're getting close to this one, and there's some pretty decent smoke in that area. So I reported to everybody en route that, hey, we got some pretty decent smoke in this area. So it was pretty legit, at least from a distance. And so when we got on scene, again, talking about my lowest IQ point, I might have botched the locations of the building, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. I got those a little mixed up at that point. And so we started driving around. Assistant Chief Wilson was on time trade. He followed right behind us. And we had the windows down, and we could tell that there was some significant wood burning inside the structure, that whatever was burning in this, again, kind of like the Ida, had taken a hold of some of the structural members in it, which later we found out were steel framing in it, but there was some wood structures inside of it. And so as we were driving around, we couldn't see the exact location of any fire. It was pretty well smoke charged. And so we'd found one roll-up door, and I know we had Devin with us that was a brute right here that busted this little door out, and we wanted to make entry into a spot just to see if we could get a good location of where this fire was. And so if we went through this door, it was no good. We could redeploy that hose line to another side. And so this building it's probably 200 yards. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know, maybe 100 yards, 200 yards. It's a pretty lengthy building. And so once we opened this, or Devin had forced this door, there's a little entryway into it that led to the rest of the structure. And so we had opened that door, and I've never seen a flashover before. This was probably the clearest cut example of being in a flashover that could have happened. And I want to say there was some definite divine intervention on this one. We had the hand line stretched to the door. It wasn't charged because we, like I said, we weren't sure whether we were going to relocate to a different door depending on the location of this fire. But I couldn't get a call out to get this line charged. And I'm glad that call was not transmitted, because had we been inside that, even 10 to 20 feet, when that did flash over, we would have had some serious problems. I mean, like life-ending problems, because for some of the viewers that don't know what a flashover is, that's that simultaneous ignition of the contents in a structure, which they figure is probably the ignition point of carbon monoxide, which is right around 1800 degrees. And so our gear, it's good, but being exposed to a flashover condition at that temp, our gear is maybe good for 5 to 10 seconds, and then our bodies are going to start absorbing the rest of that heat. So I remember Truck 3 Devin, and I think you had Corey with you?
I had Tanner, you had Corey.
Yeah.
And we had went ahead of these guys to try and find the seat, just trying to find location. There was another door just into that entryway to the right. And as soon as we forced that door as well, you can see that classic in training of smoke by us, around us.
It happened fast.
So I'm like, well, our fire's in that room probably. And as soon as we went in, I mean, Dusty talked about that flashover, and you've heard guys talk about indicators of things off gas. It was like
it was
immediately.
You watch any video, is no. If you see that,
there's no time.
If the carpet off gases, that's it. There is no like.
You're too late.
No,
I mean, it happened as soon as I saw that stuff and the roof line started going. I grabbed Tanner and said, "We gotta go."
We were clanking bottles, throwing each other out. Devin and I threw the probies out, and then we got out, and that was. I still can't believe how fast that was. How fast that escalated, and all it needed, it was a time bomb. It was waiting for a big gulp of fresh air, and we were the unlucky souls that opened that door. I mean, well, lucky that we were able to escape, but it set off a chain reaction that ignited everything in that. That place was so well charged with smoke that we had just soot everywhere. We had soot on us, soot that was igniting. So we got out and we went defensive. And I remember turning around and looking at that doorway that we were at that was now just had flames rolling out the top of it. And it was the blackest smoke I'd ever seen come out of the building. So had a key takeaway from this is that this call came in at night. Had it been during the daytime, maybe we could have sized things up a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. Maybe some of these flashover signs might have been a little more noticeable. Yeah. But with the nighttime sky, the smoke, it was very difficult to read at that point.
It's never good when it goes from zero visibility to total visibility right away because, hey, the fire's here.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we found the fire.
No doubt where it is now.
Yeah.
It's honest.
Yeah. So during the rest of that night, we had semi trailers to protect. Mm-hmm. We had several explosions. We had some propane tanks that exploded, actually shot through the roof of that, and then landed quite a ways away from the building. I think
we were up in the basket above one of them, and come up through the bottom of the basket while we're up there. I'm like, I've had enough of this Dusty and the explosion stuff for a lifetime. I think I'm good now.
Yeah,
so thanks.
We had shrapnel concerns at that point too, that was another new experience for me.
And then that was another good one of key rig placement. Not knowing where that stuff was, but again, that corners of the building when you're doing your defensive ops, not right outside of a doorway. Things like that. That with the people that we have and the knowledge we have, the setting up of rigs was good, on that one.
Yeah, I think so too. We had all the bases covered. We're
already looking ahead when we pull up, right? And
right.
That's what happened, I think.
Yeah, and I think we're optimists, and I think on that emergency scene, we've talked about this before about being a pessimist. That stuff is most likely go wrong because Murphy's got a vote in everything that we do. Absolutely. How can we stay ahead of that? And how we got to be several steps ahead of that no matter what.
For sure. Yep. So I got 3 more here.
Yes.
Let's go to South Helen. This is a recent one too. This is 2022, right?
Yeah, that was this summer.
A little more of a simple, this is just a house fire.
Yeah, just a standard house fire, and it was on an incredibly hot summer day.
Yes.
And so with that one, I know Truck 3 was out responding. Actually, we had several units out on a natural gas leak call.
On Military Road, and you're talking South Helen. So literally across town.
I think, we were on the gas.
You guys were there.
Yeah, so we had one of those situations where we got rigs on one side of the town, and then now we have a working structure fire call come in within just a few blocks of the station. So that one
John Wayne time. You're on your own, boss.
That's right. That's exactly what it was. And so we had reports of smoke showing, and then as we got a little closer to it, we got some pretty decent smoke. And then once we got right on the address, that was, again, that brownish smoke, gray. It had a firm grip on this house. And so we got up on scene. We had Colby on the pre-connect with me. He had stretched that pre-connect, and this one was a good example of why you should do that 360 on this one, because on this one, as Colby was stretching that line, I did my on-scene report, and then I did the 360 on this. And on the Charlie side, the back side of this house, it was just like a blowtorch. We had fire shooting out every window on this one. So I had Colby redeploy that line onto the back side of that house, and then we were hitting it from that outside. And then once we had more units arrive on scene, Engine 6 came on scene, and as soon as they came on scene, we had our RIT crew, and then we went inside, made entry on that, and then Truck 3 was kicked loose and was able to join us on the inside of that one too. Now we could have made entry through that alpha side door too, but I think we would have had our hands full getting to the seat of that fire too, because there was fire in every room on that back side, and we could have took a right hand turn and ended up in the garage, an area that wasn't quite involved yet. So having that full view of that structure is important, because it's going to save you a lot of work.
Perfect. So I got 2 more here. I got 5th Avenue and South Roswell.
Yes.
Which one was or which one was earlier in your career?
The Fifth Avenue one.
Fifth Avenue. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so that one I was on Engine 6. I was a young floater. I had a whole lot more hair back then. But anyway,
Less forehead, more hair.
yeah, I got a little bit of forehead right now. That's
You mean 5 head?
it's a 5 head. Yeah,
Or maybe we'll say 4.5.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, if I had feelings, I would be upset, but I don't have feelings anymore. So with this one, it was a large garage that was on fire. We got on scene. We stretched a hand line to it. We made entry through that walkout door. And during the course of trying to find the seat of this fire, which it was very difficult to locate because it was ventilation controlled. Mm-hmm. A lot of thick, dark smoke in there where you could not see your hand in front of your face. And so with this one, we had, I believe our pump had lost its prime on this one. And so this charged 1 3/4 hand line that we had, it had went limp. And at that point, with it being limp, I lost contact with it. And that was one of those moments that in my life that, like, I should know better. I should know that I should have had a side of my foot on it, a hand on it. I should have had my hand on my officer. Yeah. But chalk it up to just being an inexperienced new guy that should know better. And so I'm just sitting here in this garage, and I'm like, what do I do now? Like, it was total panic. Mm-hmm. It was just looking back on it. I'm like, there's so many things that we could have done differently. Me as an individual, us as a team, that we should have backed out, got our prime back, went back in. But instead, I just kind of sat there like a moron, just like, oh, okay. So I started feeling around for this line, and at this point, the line was still limp, and we started having some flame over inside the ceiling of this garage. And it's a pretty large garage. We had vehicles in it. I think there's some motorcycles as well. So it was definitely starting to get enough oxygen to start getting to take off. And it actually started burning up in that ceiling space, and it lit it up. And as soon as that started lighting up in that ceiling, I had the visibility went from nothing to I could see everything. Yeah. And then here's the hand line right beside me. And here's the nozzle. It's charged, game on time. Yep. But little did I know on the outside that I think there was, during the course of this becoming separated from that hose line, that the officer had exited and it reported to some of the other crews, hey, still got a guy inside. And I could hear chopping on the outside of this garage that, like, hey, one of our own's still in here. And I could hear them just getting to work on this garage door with axes, busting it open.
Were we radios on every personnel yet?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so officer came back in with me. We punched it in teeth pretty good with our hand line, and then we exited a short time later after we found out what was burning and where it was at. But that was one of those moments that I'm like, yeah, like I'd mentioned earlier, like there's so many different things that could have been done differently, like exit that building immediately when that hand line goes limp, you get it figured out and then go back in. And that was a little scary one. That raised the hackles in my neck a little bit.
I have this one, a note here, because this is one we talked about. How have our tactics and strategies changed since you've been on the job and just over time?
Yeah. So one thing, our previous generations of firemen with Sioux State Fire Rescue have always been really aggressive. And I'm thankful for that, because that aggressiveness still carries on, and it'll carry on forever, because we have this mentality that, look, we have people that are potentially trapped, that could possibly be hurt or killed by this thing. We're going to get in the way, interdict this, and we're going to put a stop to it. And so that's one thing that I think our people in this community can rest assured that you have some pretty knowledgeable people that are willing to put themselves in harm's way to say, look, no, not today. You're coming with us. We're getting you out. And so one of the tactics that I think it's been a good move, and for a while we'd gone away from, is making that direct attack on a fire. And so when I first started, one of the ways that we were being taught was that okay, you can't attack that fire head on. You have to go around and hit it on the backside of the, like, say if the fire's burning on the house, you're going to come in through the back door and push it out, because we don't want to push the fire into uninvolved places.
Always attack it from the unburned side, because you didn't want to burn more of the house.
Yeah,
everything. Yep.
Yes.
Unburned side.
And so there've been studies on it, and they just realized that this whole approach was trash. That we're not pushing fire like we thought we would. Mm-hmm. And so this aggressive way of hitting that fire head on, which our predecessors have done for a long time, that's now back in play. And so you'll see every single one of our crews doing that same thing, that, hey, look, we're taking the fight to it. We're not going to go try to take a hand line around back. We're pulling that line right to that door, and we're getting to work.
Yeah, and we may be going to like what we call an abandoned structure, or someone's out front saying everyone's out, but we don't always take their word.
Yeah.
We're
all vacants are occupied until proven otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're gonna give our check, our first primary, secondary search to make sure, to prove that before we accept that.
It's just that getting in the fight a lot sooner. That unburned side. We spent so much time and so much effort and energy exerted dragging a hose line to find the back door to come through the house. The fire was in the front of the house, and we would do it. Because the thought, we're going to push fire, we're going to do more damage to the house, we're going to do all this stuff, we're going to push fire and heat and everything and smoke back on the occupants if they're still in there. So it was always done, but we wasted so much time
and hose line
and energy, everything trying to do that. So now it's like, from an attack perspective, to be able to get on scene and know that we're like, it's flames shooting out the front door, we're right there, wet stuff on the red stuff, and we're going right into the fight. So it's,
Put the
I
fire
think, from
out, 99% of your problems go away. Right?
Yeah,
exactly.
well, that's a mentality, and I think now I think as an officer now and as a firefighter, I think we should be in the mindset that that's so much better than the way we used to do it, because we're making things better immediately.
Yeah,
we're not wasting time
exactly
trying to find like the doorway on the unburned side that we could come through and walk around, weave our way through a house and walk over people's stuff.
Never mind that door's blocked by a washer and dryer or whatever.
Exactly.
And
like Friday,
go
it's just
go after.
Anyway, so that's where too, our citizens, anybody that's listening, be like, these guys, we're coming in right through we're coming in now, and we're coming in hard, and we're coming in fast. So we are. I do think we are an aggressive department in that aspect, but an aggressive, but yet still well trained and knowing what we're doing and stuff.
Calculated too.
Yeah, not a reckless no. We are. It is a calculated, but it is an aggressive attack. Like any professional sports team. We train, we educate ourselves, we make ourselves better, we have critiques, we do all this stuff. We, just like any championship, the best teams aren't the best. Maybe they got some of the best talent, but they also spend the most time training and educating themselves and some of the stuff. We do the same thing. So it just makes us a better department.
Well-rounded.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Well, and another thing to think about too is that there's starting to be this push, and I think it's an excellent push, that when you go to bed at night too, it's recommended you close the doors to your bedroom. And when you show up to that house where you have 3 sides of that structure burning, you can have a family in one of those bedrooms that's just waiting for help. Yeah. And so we can't make that decision to write off a building that early on when you have people that could be in a bedroom that we've seen those pictures that fire is totally charred and burned on the outside. The other side of that bedroom door, it's spotless. And so that's where we make these calculated risks.
Perfect. All right, Cap, we're going to take a quick break, get some battery changed out, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back, everyone. We had a little battery break. We got everything charged up and good to go. We're in our last trimester of this episode. Cap, we're going to have you on again, because
I'd love to.
I feel like we could talk for hours. And
I'm a little bit of a talker.
I'm excited because I feel like this was good. A lot of good stuff, and I look forward to bringing other people on that we work with, or maybe in other departments, or maybe Sioux Police or something, and kind of doing the wash, rinse, repeat with this format, because I really like it. We asked you to come up with top 3 Christmas movies. We're going to have a little fun because it is in the Christmas spirit, so that's how we're going to end today. We have the top 3 Christmas movies from the 4 of us, and as I'm looking at the screen here, it looks like I'm up first. So, it's all going to come at the same time. So let's go with everyone's number 3.
Number 3 pick.
So Phil, we'll start with you. Die Hard.
Die Hard
And
is a Christmas movie.
Dusty
That's a
is. I think it's a
standard.
Yes, it is.
Dusty picked the same one too.
Yeah.
So that's on his list. So
It was on an honorable mention for me for sure.
Yeah.
I like Die Hard.
I do want to throw that was a tough one for me because the 9 Lives of Christmas on the Hallmark Channel was a close third.
Is that along the lines of
to-
Breathe?
Yeah, is that Breathe or Yoga
it's
by
pretty close.
I don't know that
Dr.
one.
Lolly or
All right.
whatever. So then, Devin, you got Elf, which
Yeah.
I had to admit
do
the other
like
day.
that. I
I've
do.
never.
It was
I'm
on
telling
my-
you, dude, this list was hard.
It was a
was
hard to
super
pick
hard.
3
Yeah.
is hard because I know Elf was definitely like it could have been in my top 3, but it was in my honorable mentions.
It's a good
for
show.
sure.
I've
Yes.
never seen Elf all the way through.
What?
You're doing yourself a
Okay, you can
disservice.
you can walk right out.
You
I
there.
have
don't know why.
homework.
My
That
girlfriend
is
told
a
me the other day,
disservice.
'cause
That is
she-
your Ben. That is. I give my WIT kids homework, like all these movies, the fire movies that they haven't seen, so they can actually learn some things. That's your homework for this weekend.
go watch
Is to
Elf.
watch Elf, start to finish in its entirety.
Be a good
We
one.
want a double-spaced 3-page report on Monday.
Single spaced, 1,000-word essay.
I don't know 1,000 words. But Elf, I know the scene where he's in the doctor's office picking cotton balls. That was my trivia.
That was
for,
on
for,
your
for Head
trivia. I
News.
figured you
Oh,
did see
that's
the movie.
right.
Yeah,
Yes.
But I've seen parts
All
of
right.
it.
Yeah.
And then for myself, I had It's a Wonderful Life. That's just a good nostalgic Christmas movie
for you.
me.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I
Might-
like
that
that.
might be on my list in a different spot, but I would agree that's definitely in my top threats. Definitely my top 3. That's Jimmy Stewart's a national treasure. Anything he does, I absolutely love.
That was another Head News Christmas trivia. Does anybody know the town that movie takes place in?
I don't know that one.
I
Bill?
know. Bedford Falls.
Bedford Falls.
Wow, nice.
Boom.
Nerds.
George Bailey, the old
pretty good.
buildings and loan. Come on,
Nerd.
you got to watch. If you guys haven't watched it, that's a great sit down with the wife and the family and just cuddle up, get a little fire going and stuff and watch it. It's wonderful. I like on Christmas, even on Christmas Day or whatever that night. That is a timeless classic. It really is.
All right. Number 2, Ryan. Start back with Phil again. Home Alone,
Home Alone,
which was also my number 2.
quintessential holiday movie. Come on. Christmas movie.
I
When
love
that came
movie
out, I was
because-
about the age Kevin McAllister when that came out because I think it was
Sure.
90. I think it was 91, somewhere right in there. Maybe. Oh no, maybe it was a little. Yeah, it was right around in there. So maybe a little. He was a little bit younger than I was, but kind
Sure.
of same age. I mean, come on.
I was talking about this with someone the other day, and I kind of see it from their perspective. I'm going to shout out Ryan Dykstra right now. He always wanted Kevin McAllister to get his butt beat because of the way he was talking to his mother in the beginning. And I'm like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
He's kind of a little, you are a little jerk. Look what you did, you little jerk.
It just goes to show you give like a, I don't know how old it is in the movies, but a credit card and you get a limo and a cheese pizza. That's all any kid wants.
Yeah, and a Home
Watch
Alone
that.
too. Yeah, I can't. Every time I could still watch it, and probably laugh just as hard now watching it today as I did the first time I saw it, and I just every
it
time.
never-
And I think,
yeah.
and now as you get older, the injuries. Now you're thinking, oh, what kind of injury did that guy just sustain? Like how much damage did
Looking
these
at
guys,
it medically.
did Harry and Marv take through the thing? But
And Joe Pesci
love it.
is really
Oh.
good. He's a treasure.
yes,
In general.
absolutely, no, yeah, one of my favorites.
Devin, I like the number 2 Christmas
Hey,
story
man,
on there.
it was like tradition in our house. My mom's like, we're watching A Christmas Story. And if you didn't love it, you learned to love it.
Yeah.
But I love that movie. I really do. I've always liked
I
it.
got the lamp
I,
today.
that's
You
right.
do right there.
A major
That's
award.
the
Yep.
little one, the big one, the big one's at home.
Right?
It's for Gile.
I think my Christmas story trivia for Head News was what language
Italian,
does
baby.
the dad think the
Yeah,
leg
it's
is?
like-
It's
Fragile.
fragile.
Yeah,
Okay.
remember what he thinks it is? They sent a bowling alley.
Bowling alley.
It's not a bowling alley.
How did they fit a bowling alley? Have you guys seen the Christmas story, the Christmas story Christmas?
Heard nothing but bad things.
Well, you know what? We watched it last night as a family, and being huge fans of the regular Christmas story, I will say that it's not. I wouldn't rank it. The original one is, of course, up far and beyond. I mean, that's up here. This one's got some nostalgia to it. Okay. So, and it's not. I wouldn't put it on your not watch list. I would sit down. I would give it a watch and give it your own opinion and stuff. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say it was one of my favorites, but I'm going to say I did enjoy watching it.
All right,
I'm gonna go
check that out.
I'm gonna go to Oppenheimer this week. See if that's a Christmas movie. And then let's see what else do we have. We have Home Alone, Christmas Vacation for Dusty. I feel like we're going to talk about this one
dude.
again.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
I know. I can really relate to Cousin Eddie. He's kind of my.
I was waiting for Clark.
I was waiting for Clark too.
Well, I mean, I did get my
that makes
Christmas
a lot of
lights on
sense.
in October. They were not turned on, but Cousin Eddie's he's my spirit animal.
That's perfect. My head news trivia for Christmas Vacation was, what number is Clark Griswold wearing on his Blackhawks jersey?
0?
00.
Yeah, double zeros.
Oh,
Yeah,
double I
zeros.
for Clark?
Yeah, double I for
Wow.
Clark.
I did not know that.
And there's just so many good quotes in that movie.
There are.
mean,
Oh, endless. Endless.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even say it.
Yes.
Okay, so we're getting to number 1.
Number 1.
So our number 1.
Okay. That's a good lineup, boys.
So Devin and I are on par with Christmas Vacation.
Yep.
Dusty had A Christmas Story, and then It's a Wonderful
And
Life
that's
for
right.
Phil.
I told you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're all on the same wheel.
I think we're like, yeah. If
think
you look
so.
at all the one oddball movie on there was Elf and stuff, but again, that was in one of my honorable mentions and stuff for sure. And this was a hard thing to do, right?
Very.
To pick like your 3 top
there were so
3
many.
favorite Christmas movies. I had, there was too many of them.
I'd like to honorable mention Santa Claus, Tim Allen.
Oh,
My
yeah,
wife
absolutely.
Yes.
made me appreciate
I love
that
that
movie way
movie.
more.
It's so good.
So
Yeah.
Honorable mention to Trailer Park Boys Christmas. There's some pretty good Christmas ones. Same with The Office.
that is another
Office
thing we
Christmas.
didn't-
The Office has some pretty good Christmas.
I
It's-
love you,
it's-
Dusty.
it's we didn't talk about is we call you Jim Leahy sometimes.
Yes.
So it's the trailer park supervisor
Yes.
from Trailer Park
Jim
Boys.
Leahy.
If you're a kid, if you go to middle school, don't watch that show.
Yeah.
But it is one of our favorites.
So I've got It's a Wonderful. So if you're haven't watched the classic movies, the old Christmas movies, okay, like I said, Jimmy Stewart's a national treasure. And if you don't appreciate the older movies where these actors had to actually act, they actually had to sing, they actually had to dance, there was no CGI, there's no editing, there's any of this stuff. I think the acting is so much better. White Christmas, Bing Crosby.
Oh, man, that's
Oh
so
my God!
man,
one of my.
That's in
one,
I think that's in a class of its own,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah,
Untouchable.
and Danny Kaye, that was fantastic. Shop Around the Corner is good. Holiday Inn, if you haven't seen that one, that's another just classic old movie that you just need to sit down and watch and appreciate, and they're just really, really good.
You guys watch Christmas movies at your guys' station?
I'm sure we'll have Christmas Story
Hopefully.
on. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's how it
They're
is
pretty
anymore, trying to
entertaining.
sit down and watch something.
Man, there's so much football on right now too.
There
I'd
is.
say if my number one
Good
Christmas
football, too.
Is football. I love watching football this time
Yeah.
of year.
Yep.
Shout out to the Vikings, the
Hey.
largest comeback in NFL history this weekend.
Kirk
That was
O'Chains.
impressive.
I never doubted that team. I was not calling to sell the team at halftime. that's
JJ
for sure.
is that guy.
My brother
He
was
is
there.
him.
He had like end zone seats. He was like 3 rows back. He left
Oh my God!
with 2.5 minutes
Oh,
to go
no.
in the 4th quarter. He said that was the first time and will be the only time he ever leaves a game
what he
early. But
gets.
he had phenomenal seats and left early.
That's
No.
one of those that'll make you sick.
He is going to kick
Yes.
himself for the rest of his
Life
life.
regret right there.
On a future episode, we'll talk about the Dynasty of Misery.
Oh yeah, the legacy of disappointment or whatever it is. Yeah,
Minnesota Vikings.
so true. It is so true.
We'll bring that
Yes.
up later.
It is fantastic.
So that's our top 3 Christmas movies. Thanks, guys, for putting that together. We got one last segment before we wrap today up. Fill me in. Phil, you kind of got a little Christmas safety and a little update. What's been going on
Yeah,
with the
we'll
fire
get
department?
kind of go through this stuff pretty quick. So we're going to start real quick with some holiday fire safety tips because it is the holiday season. And, when we're doing decorations and things like that, we have a lot more stuff plugged in places, a lot more extension cords, a lot more wires, power getting used and stuff in our house. So when we are plugging things in and using extension cords and running them all over the place, the fire department, we're not necessarily huge fans of extension cords. We'd rather see things plugged directly into the walls. But if you do have to use extension cords, try to use a power strip with a surge protector on there. It's going to be a lot better. Making sure those extension cords of the power strips are plugged directly into the outlets. We don't like to daisy chain things. So an extension cord to an extension cord to a power strip plugged into another power strip and another one, because that creates such an overload on the system. It could be a huge fire hazard. Also, make sure your extension cords are properly maintained. They're not running under any rugs or any furniture or anything, because that's where we could trap some heat. We trap heat, and then we could have an ignition source. And then, like I said, the no daisy chaining your Christmas trees. This is another big thing, especially with your real trees versus your artificial trees. There's a lot of times artificial trees are made out of stuff that's fire resistant, but a real tree, isn't, and they can get tinder dry They burn, if a dried out tree can actually burn hotter and faster than newspaper, and they can reach flash over in under a minute in a room, like in your living room. It's, you go online, you can watch videos in under a minute, that room, when you guys just talked about flash over and how hot that is. So you can think if you're inside your home and that flashes over, that your chances of escape are bad. So, all references and stuff, NFPA.org, U.S. Fire Administration, Red Cross and stuff, there's tons of information on those. But fire departments across the U.S. respond to an estimated average of 790 home structure fires per year that began with decorations, excluding Christmas trees. So that's just your candles, other decoration stuff going on. But every year, we respond to an estimated 210 home fires involving Christmas trees. So even though they're infrequent, when they occur, they can be dangerous and costly. They cost an annual average of 6 civilian deaths, 16 injuries, and $16.2 million of property damage every year from Christmas tree fires. So that's something to think about, making sure your tree is at least 3 feet away from any heat source, 3 feet away. So space heaters, fireplaces, candles, anything like that. Don't be blocking your fireplaces or radiators with that. Keep your candles away, and make sure it's not blocking an exit, your means of egress, in case you have to escape in a hurry, in case it does catch up fire. And make sure you're watering your tree daily, just because of to keep that, because that will cut down dramatically. Not saying it won't burn, but it will definitely slow down that process, give you time at least to get out of your home when that happens and stuff. If you have any other questions with that kind of stuff, you can always contact the CRR. If you go to www.sioux-city.org, look under the departments under fire rescue, you can see in there with our safe home program, our fire smoke alarm program stuff, and set up a safe home. We can come and help you look at some of those things. So that's just some fire safety tips. And then we get into real quick just some department update stuff that's coming over the last couple months, stuff the general public doesn't necessarily see. Of course, the biggest thing is the new fire engines, which there was a media day for that and everything. So that's fantastic, the engines that they were replacing. I know, like Engine 1 was pretty worn out. Engine 3 was actually old Engine 4. So it's nice. So these new engines, and then not so much the new engines going in service there, but the reserve engines that these engines are going to replace now is our reserve engines. Now we're going to have decent ones, because our reserve engines were pretty beat up. So
moment of silence for Engine 50 and Engine 8.
Yeah, for those E1s, because those came in like 01, because those were still pretty brand new when you and I started.
Yeah.
And then we had the old open cabs still too. But those were nice, because those are actually nice, those E1s. We had 3 of them, because everybody rode inside. It was out of the elements.
Otherwise, we were on Engine 70.
Oh, nice.
Sitting at the boneyard now to be joined by 50 and 80.
Yep. So Dusty and I used to be with the open cabs and stuff. So
that was nice.
We had one of those left.
And the snorkel. Remember the snorkel? You actually rode the tailboard. We can say we actually rode the tailboard like old school firefighters. So
that was pretty awesome.
We're going to have to get Chief Keller on, because he was talking the other day about riding the tailboard and how it being cold, and you put your head underneath the tarp.
Yep.
Yes.
Little guys hop right
underneath
the tarp with their full body.
Yep. Let's see. So that's the biggest thing is the engines. We have 4 new EMS employees, 4 new EMTs starting an EMS division on Monday. And then with that, there's an EMT class here wrapping up in December. It was put in Director Hayden's update that to look in January, anybody that's listening that wants to potentially work on Sioux City Fire's EMS division, it sounds like maybe January sometime we might be putting out applications again for EMTs and stuff for a potential hiring list. So if you have any desire to work in EMS, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah,
so
I would say just in general, just to be a part of the Sioux City Fire team. We are one team. I know we have 2 different divisions. I started on EMS.
You did.
We're up at 8 now.
I think 8. Yeah, because we're gonna
moved from EMS to fire.
Yep.
So it's a great.
And with that, because you were,
way to start.
And like you said, you were one of the original, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's also in the
5 years ago.
to the EMS division. We have our 5 years. 5 years actually this month. From when the first people started working. So January 1st, 2018 is when Sioux City at 0800 is when Sioux City Fire Rescue officially began running ambulance service. The first call for the EMS division was at 0849 with the crew Liz Ford and Corey Collins, which Corey Collins is one of your guys' probies now. So Corey was one of the originals. Ben was one of the original EMS people now on the fire side and stuff. So
Corey's about 3 shifts away from graduating probation.
Yeah,
if he makes it, right?
if they make it, I don't know. Yeah, they're done. Their last shift with us is January 1st.
Perfect.
So then they've completed their probation.
Good for them.
Yeah, we're pretty excited for them. Pretty good
and
guys.
with our EMS too, we just had the site visit for our CAS accreditation for the EMS. So if people listening don't know that there's certain national accreditations for different entities. So our comm center just received their accreditation. Our police department is an accredited police department. The fire side, the fire division with the CFAI, we just got reaccredited and stuff. And now our EMS division is hopefully going to get that approved and stuff. But the comments from, I guess, the evaluators was we had a model system, and it's one of the best fire-based EMS systems that they've seen, really squared away and stuff. But with that accreditation for the EMS division, just, on our ISO rating, we're ranked already in the top 0.5% of all departments worldwide. And there's only a handful of departments or municipalities, I should say, in the whole United States that have accredited comm centers, police departments, fire department, or fire division and EMS division. So we're an elite company when we have these things, and it speaks worlds of our department, and then also the city council and the citizens and stuff that support us and support their department. I hope they realize how squared away of a place we are. So, and then I guess the biggest thing then to also do is the mustaches, the mustache contest. We talked about it in November. We had Derek on and stuff, so we did have winners from that. I think not going to impute the citizens voted and stuff, so that's who gets to win and stuff. Unfortunately, was I think I don't know.
You guys put a lot of effort into that.
I think some people put more effort into others. I think when you grow the mustache out and you grow out the hair and you get a costume and you develop a character and you do some things, I just think weighs a little bit heavier than just applying to a filter to your picture and then taking it.
He's retiring. He claims he's taking a break. He won't be in the competition next year.
No, Derek's his was good though. He said he grew that hair out for you.
Nick. With his Hayden Fry?
Yeah, if he wasn't in the state of Iowa that guy wouldn't have won.
Oh, man.
Shots fired.
Yeah, this is
heard
not
it
going to
here
go
first.
over good.
No, I'm
Just
saying
saying.
Nick. If Nick's listening, shout out to Nick. That was awesome.
It was a good
was.
pick. I will say there was a likeness there, but
I'm an
I know Shipper put a lot of effort into his thing, and
He did.
People with high IQ got it.
You
but
see, and then
other people didn't,
Jim and
evidently.
Gerard with his Captain Hook was very good and stuff. Some of us
was,
put
yeah.
and I
He makes
maybe
a good creepy pirate, by the way. Good for him.
And you guys being younger, maybe
Love you, Jim.
Dusty recognized, but did you guys being younger guys, did you recognize who my character was?
No, not at all.
See, and that's where I'm like, it was Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, man.
Smoking cigarettes and watching.
See, I was a Mr. Rogers guy. I didn't watch
Watching
Kangaroo
Captain
all that
Kangaroo.
much.
That's where, and I think
Yeah.
that was my problem. Is people were like, "Wow, that's just some weird guy with a moose on his shoulder." And anybody that got
kinda
it was like, "Wow, that's so good."
Oh, it's Captain Kangaroo.
It's Captain Kangaroo. Come on.
Kangaroo.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
I'm
so Derek, DeWitt, he got champion again in the Masters or whatever, the Legends division, 2-time champion. But yes, he did announce his official retirement after this year, and then Nick Roth won the Pretenders division with his Hayden Fry. So good for those guys and stuff. And we raised just about $400 for Support Siouxland Soldiers, so that's awesome. And I'm sure we'll all be competing again next year, and talking,
Jelly Donut.
talking smack and throwing blows and stuff.
We were
and
talking
when it
about
comes down,
Nick.
it's a lot of fun.
It did make me think. I was going to give an update for those that don't care at home. The fantasy football Nick Ross League. Currently, Joel Bertrand needs 1 point from Green Bay tonight to upset Casey Olson, and he will be playing former assistant chief Dan Kugel in the. Oh no, Dan he lost. So I don't even know who that team is. I can't say the name of that team on the air. But Nick Ross Fantasy Football League. It's been around for a while. There's a trophy. Give a sports update for those who don't care at home. Other than that, guys, it's been fun. We've gone a while. I love today. Thank you so much. I think that was a lot of fun.
This was great.
Thanks for
Let's
coming,
get right
Cap.
to it
Thanks for
again.
having me. This is so much fun.
We'll have you on again, Cap. With that being said, shout out to our employees, Sioux City Fire Rescue, Sioux City Fire EMS, the City Council, the citizens, everyone with the support they've given. Have a Merry Christmas. We look forward to seeing you guys next year. Stay safe this holiday season, and we'll be back in January with our next episode.
The Night Before Christmas, Sioux City Fire Edition. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the firehouse, not a creature was stirring, not even the station mouse. Their gear placed by the rig with care, with hopes of some work to be had somewhere. The fire and EMS crews snuggled up in their beds, with dreams of fires, traumas, and helping those in need in their heads. When all through the house arose such a clatter, a four-tap rang out as the dispatcher stated what was the matter. Fire was showing through a window upstairs. The crews flew out of their beds in reclining chairs. They arrived and did the jobs they all know and love, with a little guidance and help from above. SCFR is always ready, willing, and able to respond to any call, protecting and serving Sioux land and all. To all first responders, military, and hospital staff too, until the next run, have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.
New York. Hi, kids. All right. Unique New York. One, two, three. On the jingle first day of Christmas, my true love, jingle, jingle all. Was it something I said? I think. What were you singing? You're not coming in?